So then you are a king. Should one ever find oneself in the presence of Queen Elizabeth, one would have to be informed as regards protocol. Indeed, something of that was still there when we had to deal with the Archbishop of Siena. We were taught what not to do. One does not turn one's back on the Archbishop or on a person of that nature. One talks to the person and one lets the person talk first. Jesus is not well treated, even though he is king of the whole cosmos that has come from his hands. In fact, it causes pain when one comes even into this church and one finds a lot of shuffling going on from what has just been going on before the baptisms, where people have at least some kind of instinct of faith, but not much practice quite often to go with it. And I think you know what goes on. At least we are blessed as a small praying community who come here by choice. We help each other in prayer, is it not true? No one talks, we all pray, we are helped. And many confessions happen both before and after, and there is much grace hovering in the air, healing. The Lord is honoured and is free to bless, and many are the graces, the extra graces that come from people who go that extra mile and want to honour the Lord and give him what is his due as the High King, for he is not outdone in generosity. So God bless you for your effort. You come a long way quite often. Right now in Ireland there is, as you know, a push to dethrone the High King and to re-enthrone what was once conquered by our father in the faith, Patrick. Those snakes want to return, very close to here. Thank God, the little people are aware of it, and much is being done quietly, without any fuss or bother, to counteract the demons that will be launched into the air. Just this week, I received a text from Jim, who some of you know, who has the Centre of Prayer up in King's Court, Shepherd's Fold, and he is going to have there a non-stop rosary from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m, I think, and he's asked me to conclude it all with Mass there at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. I understand from what I just heard in the sacristy that Anthony Murphy is also organising a Mass here. I'm not quite sure what day. You have to ask yourself. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but it's going to be in the Old Rite to counteract that, and it'll be here sometime. That's as well as later on the 1st of November, we have our own, with an added bit. We'll have Mass at 1, sung, as on a Sunday, but we'll have benediction to reclaim Ireland for the Sacred Heart. And we'll have, if there's enough sun, also procession as well afterwards. But I want to re-enthrone our High King in one specific area this day. One cannot preach on more than one point. We warned about that. Father Michael and myself were taught to preach in Rome, in the same class. And therefore, the one point I want to leave with you, but not just for today, but for the rest of your life, is this: enthroning Christ, author of time, Alpha and Omega, over your time. Let's be specific. We only have a certain amount of time. We have no idea how much. And there are certain tricks which I want to share with you as regards quality of time. One is to know how to take time out of time. This week, although I had initially refused, I accepted an invitation to have some time out of time in a place where I would be inaccessible, either by phone or by anyone at the door. So it meant going back to Italy. And I want to share one or two moving moments with you because they precisely talk to this point. First of all, long moments of adoration, letting the Lord reign in the air with a clear mind. You know it takes a while to have a clear mind. That's why our liturgical snacks out there, the quickies in Ireland, do not favour that. Psychologically, one needs a while to switch off, to engage with the High King, and then to absorb. If all that happens within the space of 20 minutes, it's psychologically impossible. So space, spaciousness, amplitude, and adoration in an inaccessible place is the perfect moment for that. A kairos, an opportunity where God can reign over the mind by having a space to get through. What St. Paul calls having the mind of Christ, when we just have nothing but him to look at for a long moment. By osmosis, we get his mind. We look at him who is love, and he whispers in our mind what is pleasing to him and what is not pleasing. We see things as he sees them. But other things happened casually here and there, which I want to share with you. I happened to look at the wall where a few pictures were pinned up. One was a certain Gabriella, a youngish-looking lady, and I asked, what's this about? It was a friend of the one I was with who said, or rather who had, according to what this person said, had an early death. Why? She fell asleep at the driving wheel. Now, it can happen. Be careful. It just takes a split second. I'll leave that with you, but it shows how we must be very careful. That could be our own fault, but it could also be somebody else's fault. I was told actually by my novice master, when driving, presume that everyone else on the road is a madman. But there were other things. Two spots very close to each other had very different messages, but they all talk about the King of Time. One was the chapel belonging to the Sisters of Perpetual Adoration, Sacramentine. Very quiet. Jesus enthroned on high, as they can in Italy, way above the high altar in a special place. And the sisters cannot be seen, they're quite invisible. They haven't changed the church. God enthroned. And one enters there and one feels the rights of God and how he deserves to be served. Nothing spared. But, just as though it were an ordinary object, there's something there which made me reflect. It said this in Latin. The nun in question, Blessed Gianna Bonomo, it said in big letters this one word, Hic! At this spot, received Holy Communion by angelic ministry, having been forbidden by, I think it was the confessor. And the spot is marked simply, but I stood there and I thought, wow, can you imagine the scene? The rights of our King, no unconsecrated hand, only an angel, brought the Lord of Lords to this humble nun who suffered terribly from not receiving her spouse. And it reminded me of the whole invisible world that surrounds us, and we're at the altar. Which, by the way, in a quiet place, alone, one feels 10 times more. But just nearly across the road from there is something very, very different. Viale dei Martiri, the road of the martyrs. And the person guiding me showed me the whole street of trees, but each with leaves, the branches shorn in the form of soldiers' helmets. It's what happened on the 6th, or rather the 26th of June 1944. I won't go into detail because there are children here, but it was almost the maximum of horror that man can imagine to bring a life to an end, multiplied in its gory detail 31 times. Young men were, I'm not going into detail, viciously, horribly tortured and left to hang on these trees. And on the trees were their names, except for 3 trees that had ignotum to an unknown, that they couldn't distinguish him, he was so marred, 3 of them. But there were 31. And this was something which got to the ears of Mussolini himself. He was horrified. And the people never forgot. And so they changed the name of the street and left the trees just as they were, with names upon them. And I thought, probably these young men, coming from a time of faith in that very Catholic part of Italy, we don't know, we could presume that their instinct would have been to pray as they were tortured and died. But what of those who invented this? We can be strong, we think, by doing violent things, by raising our voice in argument, by making things happen democratically. But do you think that the noise is the last word? Can you imagine what begins when the noise ceases on this side of time? We do not know the noise in the tomb and cannot hear the voice of the great judge until it's our turn. What I would say is this, my friends. We only see the tip of the iceberg. Right now, on this planet, there's a huge invisible war going on between the angels of light and the agents of darkness, and we are caught in the midst. So what does the Lord ask of you and me? Only one thing. Be well and do well at your post. Do what you are asked to do. You're not asked to do everything, but you are asked to do what you must do. That you can do. And don't do too many things. So I conclude. It hit me as I just came across something I'd written towards the end of last year, actually, where time was going. And there's one trick I want to leave with you. Don't sacrifice your time to time-eating machines, because time calmly absorbed is far higher in quality than broken up in deadlines and bleeps that take away all